멋진 아침일세. 오늘 작은 형님께서 어딜 가시는지 알고 있는가? 내게도 알려주게.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Ekamac. This is Limbus Company, Mirror Dungeon of the Lake. In the last episode, we went through a burn team. Burn team are considered to be kind of the worst in the game at the moment because they just haven't been getting any support. Like, this is almost every burn identity that we have, and it still isn't very many. Mind you, in terms of burn ego, there's actually quite a lot. So it's in this weird lopsided support. But there's also two things that I forgot about from the guides that I've read. First of all, we got very lucky at the start of the run where we picked up Soothe the Dead, which supercharges all the burn identities that we have, but only if we have at least 5 on the field. Here's the thing, we used Yi Sang, he's not a burn identity. His job in Mirror Dungeon burn runs is to stick burn up on everyone. But when you've got Soothe the Dead, you don't actually need him to do that. So what you're actually supposed to do is pull him back and bring out Hong Lu. It won't take him very long to catch up because he has quite a bit of SP bonuses on his skills. And while he's generally supposed to be an applier of burn, for burn count I mean, inflict 1 burn count, or 2 burn count, or 4 burn count. Yeah, but because of Soothe the Dead, it's also giving him a lot of hit on burn bonus effects. But not the point. The more interesting thing is that there's actually an interesting strategy. We got very lucky with picking up only burn identities. But what if we weren't so lucky with our ego gifts? What if we happened to pick up more bleed identities instead? Well, the thing is, if you pick up enough bleed gifts, this team can also act as a bleed team. Because bleed gifts also count stuff like nails to be bleed. Specifically, nails are unique bleed, so let's get into forced here. Yeah, unique bleed. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Encore IDs. We have Arby Chef de Cuisine Ryoshu. And we have an Uptie 4 Don Quixote, which gives her bleed effects. So you can actually swap over to a full bleed team should you get the bleed fusion gift. It's kind of interesting. That said, burn is still pretty much loathed. Hopefully at some point we're going to pick up some more Leo identities that'll actually fix everything, because as much fun as it is to see everything burn to a crisp, it's not something that I'd want to take into Mirror Dungeon hard. Anyway. Back into the Mirror of the Lake. We could get starting cost or an extra ego gift. I don't want either. Yesterday was burn. Today is bleed. People will usually go on a sort of save scum, so you can hit the refresh button here to reset all your possible gifts. But things that people really like starting with is Wound Cleared for bleed teams. When hitting an enemy with a skill that inflicts bleed potency or unique bleed, inflict 4 bleed potency. So what they'll actually do is they'll just keep resetting. They'll hit the refresh button. If they still don't get a gift that they like, then they'll actually abandon the run and re-enter. It costs absolutely nothing to do this, not even character rest gauges. I don't do it because that's pretty cheaty. But we're going to take Wound Cleared and Rusted Muzzle. Rusted Muzzle might let us do something cool later. It might not. I can't be sure yet. So when hitting an enemy and dealing 12 HP damage, inflict 2 bleed potency. If it's slash skill, inflict 4 bleed potency instead. And when hitting a bleed potency or unique bleed, inflict 4 bleed potency. As you can see, all of their all of their rest gauges have dropped out, and we're not getting much in the way of starlight. But now we are. Unfortunately, Yi Sang over here has slightly lost in his stats a bit. I was trying something I was trying an experimental build. It didn't really work out, so he's back on this team. The main goal of this team is Bleed, but the sub-goal is Envy, because we have quite a few identities that can do interesting things if they line up their Envy skills right. We've even got quite a few Envy Ego installed just to ensure that we can get that pattern going. But probably the biggest surprise that'll be when we get this team going. Avoid the blunt node because we don't want to deal with Encore right off the bat. We're bringing in Base Ishmael. There's an interesting little gimmick to this team. Basically, the idea is that once we get up to a cap on bleed potency, and when we get enough count to maintain it, then what else can we do but just deal more damage? Ooh, actually, you do that. The thing about Middle Don Quixote is that if you get an absolute resonance, then her stronger skills get even strong. It powers up her stronger skills, skill 2 and skill 3, so it's nice to line them all up. Now, I talked before we started about a team pivot, how we could turn our burn team into a bleed team if the gifts line up like that. As far as I remember, which admittedly isn't that well, I believe that the idea with the bleed and poise teams is that they're actually a little interchangeable. Right, the bleed team will... hang on. So at the moment, we don't have a full bleed team. Two of our identities do not have bleed. Lobotomy Remnant Forced and Base Ishmael. They just aren't bleed characters. We currently have one of the ingredients for the bleed fusion gift. If we do get the bleed fusion gift, then unfortunately we have to pull back someone so we can get the full effects. But the other thing is that bleed teams are actually pretty similar, actually have a little bit of overlap with poise teams. So if we get the ingredients for a poise fusion gift, then we could instead take out some of our bleed identities and bring in poise identities. So yeah, we can do some interesting things. I really need to do something in the main story so I stop getting that massacre scene on my loading screens. Alright, Blunt, this is the K-Core security team. So, the gift that we want to keep an eye out for fusion. If we see smoke and wires, then we absolutely have to get it. Right, this is the reason why we really want to have a and secondary envy team because Harpooner Heathcliff gets a lot of power on his best attack should there be resonance going on.
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
And that was a heavily resisted attack, keep in mind.
거치적거리지만 마.
빨리 해치우고 그냥 가죠.
이걸로 제각각군. 두렵지 않아요.
If it weren't for the fact that new identities are right around the corner, I'd really like to uptie Middle Dawn to uptie 4 because that lets her turn any of her... If you achieve an envy resonance, then she can respond to any attack. Ooh, Coffee and Cranes! Who are you? What brings you here? A piece of paper rustles. Well, you came just at the right time for me. I got urgent business that needs doing. Won't you take the job? It held out another piece of paper with lousy letters written on it. Unfortunately, you can't make sense of the lines and dots. How's about it? You up for it? If we nod and pass the skill check, then we should get the Coffee and Cranes. I know that Shake Your Head also gets Coffee and Cranes, but I'm not sure about how that one works. I know that nod also involves a punch-up though. But we have to beat a Lust Pride advantage skill. I don't know how we're gonna do that. The odds look pretty bad. This is a very old event. They do not have high thresholds for these. You can't that? The paper flapped in disbelief. Well, if you really insist, knowing what's coming. It took a step back, dousing itself with coffee. Just then a paper soldier suddenly rushed at you. You shouldn't underestimate paper's integrity! Before you could respond to the peculiar voice, the soldier attacked you. Combat encounter. Win the next battle to win the ego gift, Coffee and Cranes.
잘 되었으면 좋겠네요.
Okay, this isn't gonna be that... They're all lust pentaculums. That's kind of weird. And you are weak to pride. So this is the reason why we bring base Ishmael. She's fast, and we're going to be using blind obsession a lot. So who do we want you to clash this with? This one. It's entirely possible to go the entire first floor without getting a random event at all. And because they're all unfocused encounters, it can actually be quite hard to level up certain characters' SP. Because you have no way to force enemies to target them. So they just get a lot of one-sided attacks and no SP. So we got kinda lucky here. Oh, bad odds. And because we have Don Quixote in the party, she put down a vengeance mark. Applied to the unit that dealt the most damage to an ally. Only one, though. And if memory serves, that means that she's going to get final power versus that person, so yeah. Let's speed him up. Sadly... Oh wait, no, these guys are level 40, so we are actually getting... We are actually getting SP for killing them. That's nice.
끝이 꽤 잘 갈렸군.
자, 변신 완료. 만선이에요.
Oh wow! Now that's a rare event.
두렵진 않네. 한 줄 긋지?
I need to draw attention to this.
이런 식으로 잘 보이게 걸어두는 거 아니에요?
Soda. Head's attack end. Heal 2 allies with the lowest HP for 12 HP. Tail's attack end. Heal 12 SP for 2 allies with the least SP. Crit attack. Heal the lowest HP ally for 6 HP. Well, lowest HP percentages, so it's only on characters that actually are hurt. And heal the ally with the least SP for 6. The thing is, none of Honglu's identities actually have crit baked into them, so you never see that thing crit.
거치적거리지만 마.
Anyway, Coffee and Cranes is definitely nice to have on this team because we desperately need to get resources up. And just having one of something you didn't use is very nice. Now, what does the shop have? The dispenser's hum fills the air. It knows what we want. We know what it wants. This isn't really an envy-heavy team, so Pinpoint Logic Circuit isn't quite as nice. Nebulizer, on the other hand, would be really cool, as would the little and soon-to-be naughty plushie. And Sticky Muck is always good. Sadly, I can't look at my characters, so I can't remember what sort of things that we'd be trading out on Honglu. Let's refresh. Ooh. Okay, I think I've done enough around there. Let's save the rest for actually upgrading our skills. As you can see, the team doesn't have any sloth generation at all, so Coffee and Cranes will at least let us start picking up resources for sloth. Maybe a bit of gluttony as well if we don't have a good turn. I think that this is actually the most pathetic of the floor 1 bosses because this is Kanto 1 level enemies. That said, their G-Corp manager, he does have attack weight on his skills. Just 1, but it is there and he could mess up SP if you let him win it. Oh yeah, did I show off why Nebulizer is good? First turn of an encounter, all allies gain Poise, Potency, and Poise count. If activating Pride Absolute Resonance, all allies will receive 2 Poise and 2 Poise count at the start of combat. This is a team with a lot of pride, so it's very easy to start racking up stupid amounts of crit chance.
귀찮게 끌지 말지. 빨리 해치우고 그냥 가죠.
Sadly, Ryoshu being in the middle means that we can't really set up a gluttony chain without throwing away a bunch of resources. Like, we need these gloom resources later on.
정신 차리게. 장부에 따르면 맨정신에 죽여야 하니까.
Did not think that one through, mate.
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
꽤 잘 갈렸고. 꽤 잘 갈렸고.
Yeah, you can see they're starting to take some pretty nasty numbers from all these bleed stacks, and keep in mind we haven't even upgraded anything yet. Bleed goes off a lot more than burn does, so it's going to rack up faster, but it's also going to be harder to get to that 99 potency. Anyway, Ornamental Horseshoe is part of the poise recipe, so let's grab it. So what's the route going to be this time? We can either beeline it through a focused encounter or a risky encounter. Risky encounters have better odds of dropping things, so let's go for that.
본인이 나서지.
Alright, risky encounter. That's why we're facing off against 4 K-Core Class 3. We can't get the full NV resonance, so save 7-0 for now. Also, these guys are kind of PS resistant, so we wouldn't have much fun there anyway. No trespassing. We can't actually beat that. But 28 versus 18, I wouldn't mind so much taking that hit. It says dominating because he is negative SP and he'd have to win everything to beat us, but still. That could be a lot of damage. I don't like throwing away my gloom resources, but we're going to have to throw something away to win this clash. We have plenty of lust, we can throw out Rosette Desire. Unfortunately, it targets the rearmost unit, so that means someone else has to clash with that, I think. Oh wait, no. This is a negative coin. I'm going to use an overclock here, but it targets randomly, so now the problem is just someone else's. Yeah, let's just snag Harpoon. just barely guarantees the win.
좋은 전략이네요. 가보죠.
And he died from the bleed.
검을 덜 갈았었나?
Right, the thing that I forgot about revived encounters like this is that they inflict sinking on tails hit, so either they deal a lot of damage or they mess up your SP.
가까워진다. 항해. 가까워진다. 항해.
이걸로 제가 팠군.
Helterfly's Dream. When applying burn potency or unique burn to an enemy that currently has it, inflict burn potency to all enemies. Wrath Resonance puts burn potency on all enemies. We saw this. This isn't good for a burn team, but I'd like to have it anyway because that means we don't have to worry about it showing up at random events.
본인이 나서지.
And I just checked the numbers. Turns out that I'm not supposed to bring Ryoshu, I'm supposed to bring Mersault.
이리로 와.
차리게. 장부에 따르면 맨정신에 죽여야 하니까.
And I can understand why, because we need our Gloom resources and we're not getting them. Also, there's Helterfly's Dream Absolute Wrath Resonance going off.
느려졌네 저거.
이걸로 제가 팠군.
Like, this battle doesn't matter at all, I shouldn't be so fidgety about it.
이걸로 제가 팠군.
가까워진다. 항해.
끝이 꽤 잘 갈렸고.
Alright, so upgrading time. I don't want to throw upgrades into Rusted Muzzle yet. It's possible that over the next floor we'll get the thing that we can fuse to it, Smoke and Wires, so it would be wasting the upgrade potential. Instead we're going to go for the Wound Clerid. In fact, I'd also want to avoid upgrading the Ornamental Horseshoe because we might get the upgrade material, the fusion material for that as well. But yeah, Wound Clerid is just fantastic. When hitting an enemy with a skill that inflicts bleed, unique bleed, or wrath, inflict 5 bleed potency. When hitting an enemy with a skill that inflicts bleed, unique bleed, or a wrath skill, inflict 5 bleed potency and 1 bleed count. And the thing is, it doesn't actually care about whether the specific skill coin inflicts the bleed, it just checks whether the entire skill inflicts it. Which means that if you've got enough coins on a bleed skill, you can put up a lot of count. Nebulizer is something that would be fun to upgrade as well. We go from first turn start of an encounter to first turn start of a wave. We get more poise count, and we get more poise potency altogether. Sadly, we don't have enough left to get it to tier 2, but it would give us more poise count, and it changes from absolute resonance to just pride resonance. This is a team with a lot of pride, so being able to any 2 pride skills lighting up means everyone gets poise. We'd now be a poise team. Incidentally, there's nothing here that I want to fuse, but lust skills are what you fuse to get bleed gifts. Yeah, let's go with the mystery space. Oh. Okay. Hurting teddy bear. A teddy bear suffers from having nails lodged into its body. The bloodstains decorating it are a telling sign of all the time it's spent in pain. The holes where its eyes should be are empty. Nothing but dry red marks remain inside. In spite of that, it stands with its arms wide, endeavouring to fulfill its duty of giving hugs. So, we can choose to bandage its wounds to heal the party up a bit. As cruel as it is, we want to remove the nails. Lust Gloom Advantage. Ryoshu can do this in her sleep. You remove the nails from the teddy bear. Bloody pus pours out of the holes. Once the plush had finished its copious exudation, only a dark cavity remained within. It is an empty void. We got the ego gift Grimy Iron Stake. When hitting an enemy with a single coin skill, inflict 1 bleed potency, and 2 defense level down until the end of the next turn. If the target already has bleed, inflict 3 bleed potency instead. This is nice for this team because it means that Ishmael's single coin skills all become bleed, so she's actually contributing to the party again. Or rather, she's contributing to the bleed. She still isn't a bleed ID, so if we do get the fusion gift, someone has to go at. Hello, we remember you, right? Resistant to Pierce, Envy, Gloom. Weak to Pride, Wrath, and Slash. Can we just win rate this? Yep, looks like. This was a scary boss once, but to a fully powered up Mirror Dungeon team, not really. The floor's vines are a hassle. Maybe there'll be a chance to get rid of them.
덜 갈았었나?
And there goes an arm! A heart torn into 1,000 pieces must be kept from all eyes, thus it burrowed into the ground and tangled itself. Yet someone has to pull up these thorny roots, for there is no wound that can remain unearthed. The sinners gave each other looks. Being coiled in piercing sharp pain was something to avoid even in one's dreams. He's not guaranteed to pass that one. You are. This should be reasonable, as long as the plan behind it isn't total flotsam. Ishmael walked with shaky steps. With bare hands, they dug up the roots. In their hands were the doubts of others. The sinner realized that while the injury may heal, distrust may take deep root in their heart. And that gets rid of the coiling roots. Yeah, the wound clearer just doesn't let you get rid of those get rid of the bleed. It's kind of unfortunate for the boss.
이걸로 제가 받군.
Burned by bleed. So, what's up here? Fluorescent lamp is good for teams that pick up a rupture gift or two. Gathering skulls isn't worth it. Dreaming electric sheep would be very good for this team because we're geared towards setting up envy resonance. And if we activate absolute envy resonance, we get 2 offense and defense level up. Also, this gives it the only thing it doesn't resist up is envy, which is nice for said envy team. So, what's the path this time? We can either skip the vendor and go for the focused encounter. We can go for the vendor and then go for a few mystery tiles. Or we can just skip both of those and go for the mystery tiles. We don't have enough to make good use of the vendor. So I think it would be better to go for the 2 mystery tiles just to hope to get lucky.
가자. 죽이라.
We can get one thing of our choice from the vendor, but at the mercy of RNG, or go for 2 mercy of RNGs. Not the best odds for Heathcliff, but that's fine. He's a tank, he can take it. Oh, you are lined up with a very unfortunate skill for you, aren't you?
좋은 전략이네요. 가보죠. 지금은 두렵지 않아요.
The idea of these teams is that it's just really easy to hit the win rate button and keep beating them.
이걸로 제가 받군.
늘어졌는
잘 갈렸고.
멋지게 쉽군.
가세.
And Coffee and Cranes is actually really doing some work. Just look at how much gloom that we've picked up. And speaking of gloom, I really need to pull Ryoshu back so I can bring in more salt. Oh. Oh no, it's this one. Someone is breathing heavily and angrily. A large towering figure is trembling and shaking. Its breathing is labored. It's unclear whether it was from wrath or sadness. You! Who's there? The figure talks to you. Look at this. What the hell does it say here? The figure shoving a piece of paper before you appears to be blind. The paper says that the secret about something must be kept. It's a record of a certain patient. Tell me, what does the paper say? So, if you choose to tell the truth and get the... Tell the truth is a very harsh skill check. But if you get it, then you get a really good ego gift. Tell the figure that it's nothing is easier to beat. And I feel like this thing is incorrect because it's misled me before, but I don't know. If we succeed here, then we gain cost but get nothing. I think I'll just show how harsh a skill check this is, even though it's probably a bad idea. Gloom Lust. Who will step forth? We have to beat a 17. As you can see, nobody is ready for this. Except for Ishmael. Tell the truth. You replied, the document says that the secret about the patient in room 409 must be kept. I knew it! But that patient was... Non-disclosure agreement earned. If you fail this, you lose 40 HP and SP. It is brutal.
해내긴 했네요.
If you don't have an extremely good Gloom or an extremely good Lust skill at 45 SP, then back the hell off. Okay. 5, 6.
본인이 나서지.
Oh, hey, it's Politified Pirates. How good is our win rate here? You know what your first mistake was? You were weak to Pierce. This is what bleed teams bring base Ishmael for.
종원, 조명이 전멸하는 저곳으로. 파도가 모든 것을 쳐부술 거다.
This attack is perfectly fed by this entire team, so we can spam it for a lot of pierce and physical damage up stats.
두렵진 않네요. 지금은 두렵지 않아요.
가까워진다. 항해 끝. 가까워진다. 항해 끝.
Wasn't a risky encounter though. Okay, what do we get here? Oh, it's the lithograph. It does not assess what it writes. To lay down judgment is not a secretary's role. The scribe silently presented an emerald tablet. Read the tablet. Who should read? Okay, you aren't quite as lucky as I'd like to be. Okay, Ishmael's... Oh boy, this really is Dungeon of Ishmael. His tablet of unknown letters. While you're unable to fully grasp it, a few words do stand out. Judgment, retribution, punishment. You also see some combinations of words that might have deadly consequences if you try to understand them. When you look back up, the scribe gives a short nod before soaring off into the sky. The sinner who passed the check takes 10 SP damage, but we pick up the lithograph.
어떻게 해내긴 했네요.
Yep, when an enemy is staggered, whoever has least HP heals it off. So, we sadly cannot do any interesting fusion gifts here. We just didn't get lucky, which means everything can be spent on upgrading. I think we want to upgrade the rusted muzzle because, just like the talisman, dealing 1 HP inflicts 3 bleed. If it's slash skill, add bleed count. Sadly, this also means that we can't have the nebulizer fully upgraded. Unfortunate, but what can you do? Apply 3 poise potency. If all allies have poise, add 2 poise count. So this one actually gets pretty cool. Sadly, we can't fully upgrade that either. Sure! How to Fly's Dream 2.0, why not?
가자. 죽이라. 이리로. 와.
내가 찾은 나만의 항해 방식.
Gotta love how facing down Ahab gave Ishmael a new voice line for her ego attack.
보잖아.
적을 난파시켰습니다.
그걸로 제가 봤군.
I love our core Mersault. It's just so bulky and yet he moves very quickly to impact the target.
보잖아. 전열이 무너졌군.
Not that these guys would get to do much even if they weren't staggered. They'd explode before they even finish their clashes.
가까워진다. 항해의 끝.
가라앉는군요. 명령에 따를게요. 효율적이야.
Okay, who's our third floor boss? Oh, it's you again.
좋은 전략이네요. 가보죠.
You know what? Let's show off Le Sangre de Sancho. I'm not doing quite the best job of setting up all the talismans like you're supposed to.
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
But I feel like he's actually probably going to self-destruct from bleed due to the turn where he slows down his attack rate.
달려라 루신한테! 정의는 승리한다!
So here's the question. The body needs to have some bleed count put on it before it gets to move. That's very important. We also need to ensure that we throw some of these talismans back onto the body. Okay, you actually could get a lot of bleed count onto there, so that's fine. But now... we can afford one telepole.
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
We didn't exactly take much advantage of the stagger, but the point was to make the boss suffer a lot of bleed here.
좋아. 장까지 찢어주마.
The wooden doll stopped in place as if nothing was happening. As if possessed. Yeah, we saw this in the Luxcavation video, we don't need to go through all this again. Out of everyone... roll for Ishmael. So that no one will cry. The boss gained 5 reattached Curse Talisman, and Ishmael gains 2 haste.
해내긴 했네요.
So, the boss is now heavily debuffed for these so that no one will cry super attacks. Do I want to just throw everything in for style? I think I do. Although, wait, he actually doesn't get any bonuses beyond the... We have to reach 6 resonance and Ishmael has nothing she can use, so never mind. Something funny we could do . Who wants to give 2 PS up and damage up to 4 allies?
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
종원,
And we're also getting the sheep resonance bonus.
모든 것을 쳐부술 거다. 이걸로 제가 팠군.
Ooh, I think that may have been a little bit overkill, don't you? Enemies gain final 1 power in a clash, but we get the bonus to our poise gain. On hit, the enemies deal 2 fixed SP, but we get charge count for Mersault, or we can get Tremor Burst for the damage dealing. I kind of want to go for the Endorphin kit, even though this is normally something you never touch. Don't be like me, don't pick the gift, pick the debuff. So then, we have quite the long path ahead of us, so I'll catch you in a moment. Something that creaks, squeaks, and shakes is stood before us. Inside is a pink liquid. It heaves whenever the liquid container shakes. Or it might be the liquid's movement that causes the massive glass body to move. The liquid seems to consist of multiple things and beings. Each droplet has its own face. One sad-looking droplet is pushed away by its mean-faced peers. The glass giant trembles and a pink droplet is ejected. The droplet is crying. Comfort the pink droplet. Lust, pride, who will comfort it? Yeah, Ryoshu has a 1 in 4 chance of failure, so 3/4 chance to win. How do I comfort a droplet? As odd as the order sounds, the sinner does their best to lift its spirits. The droplet seems to have perked up thanks to the sinner's efforts. I could be free thanks to you. It feels as though the droplet said something like that. Soon enough, the droplet disappeared from view, and an object that looked like a big glass container was left in its place. Child within a flask earned.
죽이 좀 맞았어.
Encounter start gain +1 ego resource for every sin affinity. This is a lot better to get early on because it's basically just an inferior coffee with cranes. Okay, let's go straight left and see if we can swing by the vendor for something cool. Okay, let's see what's left. Ooh, quite a few decent looking gadgets here. Bloody Gadget. Apply 2 damage up to a random ally. Prioritize allies with lust affinity and additional damage to them. Voodoo Doll. Inflict power down to enemies with 33% or less health and deal 3 envy damage to all enemies at turn start. And Eclipse of Scarlet Moth. When dealing a damage with an attack skill for the first time, deal half its damage. If it's lust, deal 2 random enemies instead. We could refresh. Wasn't really anything decent, so let's just upgrade from Snag Harpoon to a 7 knot. And then we have one more mystery tile. An alleyway garbage dump. Its atmosphere is stuffy and unpleasant thanks to humidity from the rain. A pile of old and torn umbrellas sits in a corner. The umbrella's jiggled. Looking closer, there's a large fox underneath. The umbrella's rusted iron blades have firmly rooted themselves in its back. Do not pull out the umbrellas. This is a bad idea. Pet the fox. Sloth, Lust, Pride, Advantage. Who should do that? Ryoshu's guaranteed. Its growl recedes. You stroke it once more and it closes its eyes, pleased. You stroke it once more and it settles on the ground, comforted. You stroke it once more and it shrinks to become a statue. Ego gift Sun Shower earned. When activating Sloth Absolute Resonance or using any skill with attack weight, gain 2 skill power at combat start. So this is Gloom Pierce. I don't entirely remember. This actually might be Sun Shower Fox, actually. No, it's the Centipede. Okay, so if this skill is on a slot, gain shield by the head's current HP. This one is a pain. So the idea is we need to burn through all of that shield, like 855 shield. If we can, then we're in a good position. Beat on the body just a little bit, just to put a little bit of bleed there, but
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
숨은 것들이 옥죄어 온다.
종원, 조명이 전멸하는 저곳으로 파도가 모든 것을 쳐부술 거다.
the reason I went for the Absolute Resonance was in hopes of getting a lot of crits on Ego this turn.
모든 결과들은 파우스트가 알아요.
Oh, but we didn't do very much damage to that head's shield. So then, high voltage electric discharge at 11 plus self-charge, deal 10% damage for each count of self-charge over 10, spend all self-charge. Target has capacitor, deal bonus damage, inflict 3 paralyze and 1 capacitor. So yeah, it's got a lot of paralyze and a special effect called self-charge. Upon death, all skills are cancelled for the turn, double currently owned self-charge. After using Coil Up, if the shield is exhausted, spend self-charge and all paths become staggered. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the stagger. As you can see, this is rolling quite harsh. I don't like it. But also, we don't have a lot of people who can actually safely clash with that thing. Actually, yeah, let's look at its stats a little bit. It's weak to Sloth somewhat, and it's very weak to Gloom. But it highly resists Wrath and Envy. The fact that it resists Pride, Gluttony, and Lust is because of the pick that we made earlier. However, the head is weak to Blunt, the body is weak to Pierce.
총원, 조명이 전멸하는 저곳. 파도가
Actually, did I show what the non-disclosure agreement that we picked up does? Because I get the feeling that I didn't. $62 bleed! Him giving us a turn to just beat on him and stick those bleed stacks up wasn't his best move. But we've also burned through it because we haven't been actually applying much in the way of count. And he has a lot of attack skill coins. He has 3 self-charge. After this unit faces death, as long as it has self-charge, its HP is fixed at 1 until fully consumed, max 20. When you get him down to that final stretch, he can go on for a lot longer than he has any right to.
지금은 두렵지 않아요.
Unfortunately, he resists a lot of what we can do to him.
총원, 조명이 전멸하는 저곳으로. 파도가 모든 것을 쳐부술 거다.
Oh, he's gonna die this turn, which means that he's going to get at least 5 charge. In fact, I'd be willing to say that he's going to get 6. He's going to have 7 charge, so we're going to have to burn through 14 charge because whatever he clashes with is going to. Well, wait. There is something we could do. The trick is, Heathcliff is actually going to finish it off before it gets any chance to clash, so it's not going to get any charge. This means that it's going to cap at 10 charge, so we should be able to one round it once it dies. I want to draw attention to the Refraction Railway version of this being significantly less fun. Not just because Refraction Railway is a race and it's a waste of time to try and get through that self-charge stacks, but all of its effects were combat start. So if you all of the effects on those skills were combat start, which meant that it could have a lot of. What the heck? That's just not fair. Okay, now we just go for the crazy. Throw as much ego at it until it stops moving around. And preferably not ego that uses the very precious gloom. As you can see, even though the bleed damage is out the roof, he's just not going down. This is such a waste of time, and I hate that. I hate that cancel all skills effect because it means that we can't actually deplete any of the charge before he gets a chance to do all that. On the upside, because he's sitting at 1 HP, he is still suffering from the voodoo doll and getting the power down, which is very important when he starts spamming very powerful attacks. I feel like actually at this point we could just tank everything that he does, but I really don't like giving them a chance like that. Hang on, did win rate not line up all attacks properly?
달려라 루신한테! 정의는 승리한다!
I get the feeling we didn't line up one of the attacks properly. I shouldn't have trusted the win rate button. No. But he's down to 2 self-charge now, so we are actually set.
좋은 전략이네요. 가보죠.
Yeah, he just died from running out of charge. Anyway, that's the bleed team. Spam blind obsession.
들리지 않네. 심장 고동 소리. 모든 고래 심장 소리. 멈춰도 있을까? 돌아갈 것. 내가.
I'm kind of surprised that it's our dedicated tank that did that, but I guess we've had worse. It's not too far ahead of the others. And you have to remember that he did have two ultimates that do well in an Envy Resonance team. When you're in an Envy Resonance team is pretty good. Anyway, that's all for today. Until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.
멋진 아침일세! 오늘 작은 형님께서 어딜 가시는지 알고 있는가? 내게도 알려주게!
Oh right, I forgot to tell us what the ego gift did. My bad. So, non-disclosure... No, that's the special contract. Where's the non-disclosure agreement? Here. Turn start, a random ally deals 10% damage, effective until the effect expires. The ally deals an additional 10% damage every time it hits with a skill and deals HP damage, to a max of 40. If they take HP damage, the gift's effect expires. At the next turn's start, apply the same gift effect to another random ally. Effect expires if no other allies can be selected. There's a lot of weird requirements in all this. It's just not... I just can't tell what they're talking about. Anyway, until next time guys, take care, I'll see you all around.
뭐 작은 형님의 강력함은 내가 감히 견뎌볼 깡냥도 되지는 않지만 그래도 나와 몇 배나 차이가 날지 간혹 궁금해지곤 한다네.